You know, the funniest thing about growing old is that people seem to think all we talk about is the weather or the price of groceries. Which is true, of course. Well, my name is Albert, and I lived around this area all my life. Never saw any reason to live anywhere else, really. I mean, what would you want to? Especially when all your memories are here. They're one of the few things you get to keep as you get older, memories, you know. Don't get me wrong. Let's get one thing right from the start. I'm not going to be trotting out all the usual old folk cliches. So if you've come here today expecting me to knock youth of today or to go on about the good old days, then you're out of luck. But I'll tell you one thing I've learned over the years. It ain't no use moaning about things all the time. Everything goes in cycles. The world goes on as it always has. Take hooligans, for example. They ain't a modern invention. We had them back in the 50s. Juvenile delinquents, we called them. It was us that invented the word yob. Stood for backward boy, it did. They never ever see beyond the end of their noses. Think the world is simply just a bed full of roses. The way they look at life would try the patience of Moses. Folk are blind, and you'll find they just don't want to see. Their tiny little worlds are always empty and hollow. Never ever think about what's coming tomorrow. They never see other people's suffering and sorrow. Folk are blind, and you'll find they just don't want to see. They only ever look at life through rose-tinted glasses, so they never see a stormy cloud till it passes. The way they hide their heads in sand no ostrich surpasses. Folk are blind, and you'll find they just don't want to see. Now if you hear these words but don't believe what they're saying, it may be that you're one of those that they are portraying. So ask yourself what kind of image you are conveying. You may find you are blind and just don't want to see. And then so blind as folk who just won't see. No, I don't have any regrets. Like I said, life's too short for things like that. Mind you, I'll tell you one thing that hasn't changed. That's the class system. There was a time when ordinary folk like me reckoned we could change things for the better. But those sort of hopes disappeared after the 80s. Now, whatever people tell you these days, those class divisions are still there. Now, I've never kept a lot of photos around the place. I'm the one sort that likes to remember things up here rather than have a lot of souvenirs clutching the place up. I reckon if you have a lot of photos around, or friends and relatives, even girls you used to court, could cause you a bit of pain, especially if they're no longer with us. Yeah, I was talking about class divisions. Now, I remember they were much worse in my days. When they built this fancy new private housing estate not far from here, 45 years since it was, there was this gorgeous young girl whose family were one of the first to move in. We went to the pictures together a couple of times, her and me. I thought how lucky I was to be going out with her. Even thought it might be just possible it would last forever. I was kidding myself. You see, nothing crosses those dividing lines. Mind you, I don't ever regret marrying my Betty, God rest her soul. But just every so often, now and then, you get that sort of what if feeling. And I've always felt guilty about allowing myself to have them, but that's life, I guess. Yeah, one thing I'll always remember from my youth is that feeling of dread that once I got old, I'd end up just moping about, caring about nothing else except the simple things in life. But then you end up realising that it's a natural process that happens. Just like when you grows out of hanging around with your schoolmates, or the day you decide you don't want to be at the pub till all hours, you know. And it's so easy to be bitter and wag your finger at the younger generation and say, you just wait, it'll happen to you one day. But they won't listen. I didn't. The next generation won't either. Why should they? Like I say, that's the way it is. It's the way it will always be. The cycle repeats itself. And there ain't no point in getting upset about it. No, it's not been a bad life. I've worked hard, enjoyed it. Mind you, just lately I've asked myself if some of those industrial fights I had were really worth it. But in the end, there is only one fight in life.